home soil is holy here for 17 Gaming. They get themselves the first victory of PGS 7 Grand Finals, and that is a big one, especially since it was down to the wire between all of these teams at the end. We were popping up in the back, the team rooms were popping up in the back, Toffees. It was all on.
For a second, I thought it was prime time, mime time.
Almost.
He got up and just had nothing to say as the arena was waiting to spray him down.
It's like when you're holding your hand up and like, no,
Yeah,
not getting anything to say in the classroom. Yeah, but he did get a lot of placement points there. Obviously, the 5, that's a good clutch. Arena also being able to get in there. The 2 versus 1 didn't work. They put one in the middle to kind of have an off angle, then tried to challenge DD. Absolutely not. He was on an absolute crazy run there himself. So many 1 versus 1s won, but also the BB situation for him. How did he pull that off? That was just crazy.
Yeah, I love the prioritization though from 17 Gaming. They could have technically tried to deal with teams like the Arena on that side, right? But they were like, okay, no. What is our biggest threat here? Probably the BB team on the other side.
Winning move.
Yeah, very important to shut them down before everybody else.
I think they moved more in the final circle than they had to in the entire game up to that point. They dropped in. They were a problem for everyone from the very start of this match, and they came into the end game with hubris and confidence across the arena today. We heard people talking before it started, you got to put 17 on your team. Like, these guys are going to go off uncontested. It's incredible what they can do.
I managed to grab one of the 17 players. It wasn't Xiaowu, DD was still Ghost. So, but still, uncontested, you cannot deny that 17 Gaming is looking fantastic. And with this, sure, it's a pseudo home turf ending for them, right? It's close, as you said, to where they are, but still, so many individual fights that they had to take, so many teams they had to remove, and it wasn't any teams. It was Twisted Minds, it was BB with a really strong position, and then some 1 versus 1 actions there. Insane headshot from Xiaowu.
Exactly. I mean, the east side of the circle, a heavy fault.
Look at that.
Right? We saw. Well. We have got ourselves BB team running it back as they get themselves to the top of the circle and finally get the win. After coming so close in that first game, it goes to show the mealworm buff.
Mealworm buff. Mealworm buff. Mealworm buff.
Yeah, that's crazy. That honestly, the way they're able to close this down on multiple angles against Expendables, against 17 Gaming, and doing it against a 17 Gaming that just came off the high of a clutch of Xiaowu like that.
They were so
that is impressive.
They got knocked out in that first game. They took it personally, and they're not playing like a bunch of hermit crabs. They're going out there and playing aggressively in the late game, finding territory. They spread out around that north side. They accordion back in, and they made some really good moves.
Yeah, just kind of crabbing along towards the edge of that little ridge line there. Very impressive stuff. You even saw just some of the frantic shots coming in from BB team at the end, knowing that 17 Gaming, where they were, wanting to shut them down through the smokes. So a bit of a banger of a game towards Resort.
I gotta say, I actually really love this area of how much terrain cover there is, how many dips and divots, and then this whole kind of ridge along this line, separating a little bit. When I saw that circle pop away where we had the northern side of 17, I thought there was going to be too much pressure for 17. There was too many teams close to them, it felt like. It felt like with Day Trade, they're going to come in and push them. We're going to see Freaks come in and push. Nothing. They held it strong, and it wasn't until BB and Expendables really turned the heat on them that they kind of crumbled.
The Day Trade one was surprising to me that they didn't push on that position, but at the same time, I think they realized. Well, DN Freaks saunter into a win casually on the east side, no problems whatsoever. 100 million crates.
Scripted.
Because that's how Tego goes. But there was actually only one P90, which was surprising to me, despite them looting everything.
It's because the rest of his team just fanned out to make sure that he was safe while looting the boxes.
Protect salute!
He literally went through boxes. I was like, okay, I'll take a Ghillie here, a P90 here, a tier 3 here. And they made it to get the big win. So that's good for them. I mean, coming off the back of a group stage that started uncharacteristically slow.
Agreed.
They have been kind of ramping up today, and to have them now take sort of this win, I don't know who said it. It was in the agreement when he goes, oh, it's bad news if the Freaks turn on early. And I think that could be, this might be the opener of that run.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that we're still on the Go Duck patch of Tego here. I don't think I've seen as many Go Duck endings as I have in the last 2 months here on Tego. It's been crazy. And yeah, they were prepared. Sure, it's not exactly inside Go Duck, but it's close enough to see that all the teams are already kind of moving their way there. Nice triple maybe.
Well, what was baffling to me is that all of a sudden we go kind of the circle a bit northwest of Godok, and then we get teams like Petrichor Road crashing into Godok as well. I'm like,
there were 7 teams in Godok at the beginning of Phase 3. It just that did not compute in my head, and it's I guess predictive that it's going there, but that was just seemed wild. And it was the teams on the outside that seemed to benefit most in the transition into this late game. Petrichor Road again eliminated early on in this match and not making the top 10. Kind of shocking for me.
That double headshot knock on Fenadol in the driving car on BP team, that completely destroyed any chance they would have had.
Yeah, it did feel like they would have had a better showing in this game, considering the circle. Obviously, they took that high ground, the northern high ground, which can accommodate so many teams. But then the circle's shifting away from them. As you said, the double headshot, very important and impactful against a Day Trade that is doing well so far. Fair to say.
Day Trade looking, I mean, they're making the deep. Furia does manage to show up in this one. Bestia once again finds themselves climbing into the top 4.
Well. Day Trade manages to shut down Twisted Minds at the very end. It was going to be tough for Twisted Minds to make anything happen there, but Day Trade manages to round things out. They had it secured for quite a while, considering their position, and of course, they do get the win.
Yes, they do. They come out with that big victory, making it work at the end. The question was Mime going to be a massive problem? Was he going to come out there for the second time in a row and possibly stab somebody in the back? But the bush was not to be as he was picked off. I often wonder, what would be going through that player's mind in that moment as he's just saying, please don't notice me, please don't notice me.
Take control of the high ground and shut the Falcons down. 3rd on 5 get themselves the victory here after we watched what was expected. We saw shotguns, we saw MP5s, but this apartments fight is unlikely to stop anytime soon.
The real estate market is getting out of control. I mean, finding an apartment is becoming just ridiculous. And that opening sequence was exactly that. It was fun to watch. Will it continue, Martin?
Yeah, 2 aggressive teams trying to become the landlord here, but they say no. Petrichor Road. Yeah, I was hoping for it to happen at school, but it's the classic spot here in the apartments, and Petrichor Road has a little bit too much experience. But here in match 5, it was 3rd on 5, so was able to kind of step it up. This high ground, we've seen a lot of Stalba endings here. It's the tendency to kind of coming this way. You see a lot of teams that's already early committing some of these areas here, but yeah, it's good to see Bestia in another top 5 situation. Mime managed to get a few kills there too.
Yeah, we've oftentimes looked at this location and thought to ourselves, the warehouse that sits on the south side of Stalba has been an extreme position of power. Obviously, we shifted away from that, and it didn't become too much of a focal point, but over in the east, the Falcons were brewing.
And they got very deep in this game, and what they kept running up against some tough positions to take that tower that sent Shrimsy up against Petrichor. Bagopal was in the way, Forest Natural was in the way, and really I think it came down to H-Win using that Lynx. He used every single bullet he had in there to keep driving them forward to the late game.
I had a pleasure of talking to Gunnar just before this game. I was like, he's saying, at this point, we're not getting any circles. And I said, yeah, maybe you should try emergency pickup once again. And they did in this one. They dropped onto the split of the Petrichor Road guys, right? And they actually managed to come out on top. Tiggleton got the opening, and that worked out fantastically. It's not often you're able to that late kind of get emergency pickups where you're able to all 4 stay alive.
Yeah.
They managed to do so and get kind of deep. This situation with the car, though, I feel like we got to deep dive that into a little bit. I feel like the missing tire for H1.
It was only a matter of time before the switch on here. D and Freaks gets themselves a big victory to round out day number 1 of the Grand Finals and keep their pursuit alive here for a PGS title. Joining me, Toffers, as well as Avenger, to talk about this one. Obviously, we had the hot drop going on again. This time, Twisted Minds wins. Come on. That's really cool.
It goes back and forth. Twisted wins this one, and you see here come to the end. It takes a little bit of time. He gets 1. He gets 2. He pre-fires for 3, but it is not meant to be, as the trench gun is just too strong.
Nice try, though.
It was a very nice try.
And at this point, do you realize that, okay, it's still worth it. It's still a 50-50 every time we land. Yeah. It's going back and forth.
It's symmetrical.
But with the amount of games we're playing and the Wrangle actually being in 6 of them, I feel like it's a little bit of a throw at this point.
With where Twisted Minds is going to end the day, it does feel a little bit like, hey, maybe go do something else. Even though you went, you know what, you both went 1-1. Take that as a moral victory. Go somewhere else.
Thing is if we see them and I get the chance to talk to them or something, like with Toolins, for example, I imagine he's just going to say, there's no way we're stopping.
Yep.
There's no way we're leaving. It's our spot. It's been our spot for a long, long, long time. Well, alongside school as well. But anyway, hey, let's talk about DM Freaks, because obviously it's about damn time they get a win on the board. We've been expecting it for ages. For today?
For the second win for today.
Okay, well, you know what? It's about time they got a second win on the board for today. Shut up, Avenger. good stuff. You know?
It is good stuff. It's nice to see the Freaks finally off the leash. They've been building momentum, and here they are looking very, very, very good right now as they come out and they take the win on this one. Again, it was a difficult game. You know, Martin called it at the start of this thing where he was like, you know, 17, we need to have a circle on military, we need to have a circle on Stalver. Both are delivered at your request.
Yeah, you did well.
And that did make it tough for a lot of these teams. We saw E pickups going badly. We saw people just no space anywhere.
There was a moment in the green room where Avenger said we had to thank him personally for the downfall of 17.
Thank you, Avenger.
Thank you, Avenger.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, in these cases here, 1 point in 2 Wrangle games, uncontested in Pochinki is extremely rare. Like,
you're right.
It is these circles that need to be there on the extremes, and yeah, it happened here. It felt like it was also a little bit of focus from like they realized, okay, 17, we gotta make sure we finish them fast.
Yeah.